Now that you have a good understanding of how routing in ASP.NET Core works, and you already know the basics of tag helpers, let us return to the application and include support for navigation. At this point, if we run the application, we have the PI list and the details page, but we have no way to navigate from the list page to the detail page. I'll need to bring in some links. Those links need to be generated dynamically as well, and so we'll do that here using tag helpers. Let's do that in this demo. Now we're going to use built-in tag helpers at this point, tag helpers that come with ASP.NET Core MVC. And those tag helpers I need to reference first, and I can again do that on a global level. I can go to View Imports, and in there I can now call the Add Tag Helper. The Add Tag Helper will bring in the tag helpers defined in the assembly you see here. That in fact contains the built-in tag helpers. Those I can now use inside of my application. Let us go back to our list page, and we're going to bring in a link. We in fact already have the link, that's what you see here. We can click on pi.name, but as long as the link is not pointing to another page, it won't work. So I'm going to use the built-in tag helpers to generate this link. So this is the link in the list. I need to navigate to the PI details page, passing in also the ID. That's exactly what this one needed, the ID parameter. All right, let's create the link. I'm going to use the ASP-controller tag helper first. I know that we are looking to navigate to an action on the PI controller. So I specify PI. I don't specify PI controller, I just specify PI. Then, as the ASP action I want to invoke, it's going to be the details action. And then I also specify that there is a parameter that needs to go along. That will be the ASP route, and then dash the name of the parameter. So I can here specify ID. It should be the same as this ID here, and that's going to be the value that we can find on the PI that we're looping over. So that should be @PI.PIID. So that will generate dynamically for me a link to PI details, passing in as an extra parameter in the route the PI ID. And that's dynamic because we're looping over the model PIs here. If we now go back to our PIs list page, I can click on the PecknPI. That looks very good. And there we go. We see the details of that PecknPI. And it works now for each one. Look at the link, PI details/4. So indeed, that's the structure that we're using now to navigate to this action on our controller, passing in 4 as the ID for the PI we want to see. Now it's pretty annoying that I always have to type in /PI/list. No one is going to find that, right? So we need a home page. If we go back to the program, in the default controller route, there's also some defaults defined. If we don't specify a controller, then home will be used. And if we don't specify an action, index will be used. So I'm going to use that information to create my home page. I'm going to add in my controllers folder a new controller, the home controller. We can use this one, or we can just go to add new item and then select here an MVC controller empty. The default name is already what I'm looking for, home controller, that's fine. It's going to generate me again a controller. And in here, I'm going to build up the index method. On the home page, if you remember what the finished site should look like, there was also a list of PIs, the PIs of the week. I have in fact on my PI repository defined an IEnumerator property, PIs of the week. That I'm going to use on my home controller to display the PIs of the week. That'll require again that on this home controller we use the PI repository. So like we did before, through dependency injection, I'm going to bring in an IPI repository instance, and then I'm going to use to load the list of PIs of the week. Just like we've done with the PI controller, I'm going to create a view model specific for this view. It's going to be the home view model. So under the view models folder, I'm going to add a new class. It's going to be the home view model. That'll contain, in this case, well, not that much, but it could in fact be used to extend on the homepage and add multiple bits of information. In our case, I'm just going to include an IEnumerable PIs of the week, which I can pass to the home view model through the constructor. That home view model I'm now going to use on the home controller, in which I'm going to extend the index action. The PIs of the week will be retrieved through the PI repository.PIs of the week. Then I'm going to create a new home view model, which is getting in those PIs of the week. And then we return the view method, passing in the home view model. Now we're good to create a home view. So, like we've done before, under Views, I'm going to create the Home folder, because of course we created a Home controller, and in there I'll create the index view. And I'll paste in the code for that. Don't forget to look at the snippets for this. Our view is going to be typed in Home View Model. Then I have some Bootstrap code that shows the carousel. Finally, I have a div, and in there I'm going to loop over all the pies of the week on our view model. That was the Home View Model. In there, I show each of the pies with their information, like we did in the list page. This is in fact pretty much the same code. As you can see here, I'm also using tag helpers to go to the pie details, passing in the ID. I think we're now good. We'll have a homepage. Let's try it out. There we go. We have a homepage. Fantastic. It shows that top banner, a slider through which I can see some nice looking pictures. And it also shows the pies of the week. When I click on one of these, let's click on the chocolate cheesecake. That looks delicious as well. Anyway, I shouldn't get sidetracked. There we see the details of the pie. And if we go to the list page, we still see the list. That looks good. So I can click here on one of these pies as well. And that works fine too. Now I still can't reach every page using a link. Let's change that. I'm going to extend my navigation, my header, with some more links. I'm going to go for that to the layout so that these changes have effect on all pages in one go. What I want to do first is I want to have this anchor tag here, which is showing the logo of Bethany's Pie Shop. I want that to navigate to the ASP-controller. And that should be the Home controller. And I also want the action to be the index. This div here I'm going to replace. I've now brought in two other links. The Home link, again going to the Home controller action index. And the pies link, which will bring us to the list of all pies. Now that we're doing that, let me fix one more thing here. Let's go to the pie controller and say that this is not cheesecakes anymore, but all pies. I think our site is now in a much better shape. Let's test it out. We have the home page. We see two links. I can click on pies and that will show me all pies. I can click on the details. That works. I can click on the home button here and that takes me back to the home page. Fantastic. We have a real working site.